My parents bought their first home back in 1972. It was a super fixer-upper, but they decided to move in right away and fix things as time and money permitted. Within a few days of moving in, the new neighbours came over to introduce themselves. They also let my parents know that the previous owners had moved out after a nasty divorce. They had lost their second baby from SIDS, and their relationship went downhill from there. My parents were horrified, more so because they were newly pregnant and couldn't imagine going through such an ordeal. But as time went by, they pretty much forgot about it and life went on. They were in love with their new life and their new house. In preparation for the baby, they decided to wallpaper the nursery. Now, my dad told my mum that there was no need in wallpapering the inside of the closet, but she insisted. She was kneeling down, scraping off the old paint inside the closet, when her eyes fell upon something that made her blood turn to ice. Written in crayon, at about eye level for a kindergartner, in childish scrawl, was written,
"I killed the baby."
When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time at this house that was the headquarters for a small theatre company that I worked for. There were several stories that people had about seeing various ghostly things there, but one of the ones that kept coming up was a ghost cat that a couple of different people had claimed to have seen. Now, fast forward to 2 years ago, my girlfriend and I were staying at the house for a few weeks whilst we were working on a show. She'd only become involved at the theatre recently, so she didn't know any of the odd stories. There was an actual cat living there at the time, and we always slept with the door closed because we're both allergic. So one night I wake up to her getting out of bed and saying something like,
"Come on, Furzophone, get out of here."
She bends down as if to pick something up, then gasps, then a moment later climbed back into bed. The next morning she told me that she had some kind of dream where she heard the door open and got up to see the cat in the room, and figured that Furzophone had pushed the door open and come in, so she got up to pick her up and put her out again. But when she reached down to grab the cat, it just disappeared. Since that is not what is supposed to happen, she just figured it was a dream. So I said to her, "I think you met the ghost cat actually." And she was like,
"What ghost cat?"
So I told her the history of it, and she asked me to describe what people had seen. A white, short-haired cat, as opposed to Furzophone, who is a grey and long-haired cat. At which point she sort of freaked out, because what she had seen had appeared to be white, but she had just assumed it looked that way because of the lighting or something. Not the world's creepiest ghost story, I'll admit, but it was very strange nonetheless.
When my mom gave birth to my sister, there were tons of complications. My sister was born 3 months premature and had a ton of issues. My mother got an awful infection and lost a lot of blood. At the same time, my grandfather was dying of cancer. My dad was in the military at the time, so we were all in the UK while my grandfather was in the States. Anyways, my mom and sister were in the hospital for a long time. My mom couldn't handle a lot of stress, so they didn't tell her a whole lot about my sister or my grandfather. Well, my grandfather ended up committing suicide to end his own suffering. My father couldn't tell my mother. None of the nurses or doctors said anything to her either for health's sake. But my mom would wake up and see my grandfather at the end of her bed, telling her everything would be okay. and that my sister was okay. She thought he came to the UK to see us, but it was just his spirit. She had a similar experience when her dad died years later. Recently, my fiance's father died. I was convinced for the first few days after his death that he was with us. Then after 3 days, the feeling just disappeared. It could be that I was just grieving, but I felt so sure he was with us. I just felt it, and after my mom's experience, I will always believe that the dead visit their loved ones when they die.
Please note, the picture included is from the original post. My dad died in a motorcycle accident a few years ago, and after he died, weird shit started happening at my dorm when I got back. The clock would fall off the wall and change time. Batteries would separate themselves from remotes, and bangs and knocks were regular. But the weirdest thing that happened was when I got back home from college. I was taking a shower, and when I was done I got out and started to get dressed. I left, and after a while I headed back to the bathroom to finish getting ready, and the mirror was just clearing off the steam. Lo and behold, I see smear marks, faintly, that look like lettering. So I tipped the mirror, because it's one of those triple paned medicine cabinet mirrors, and I see "Hey" spelled out in his handwriting, with the elven eye symbol that was in Lord of the Rings that my dad would put everywhere. This was probably 6 months after he had passed, and I have no idea where it came from, since it was only me and my mum in the house, and I know she would not do that. The crazy part is that like a week before, I had broken open a glow stick and it splashed onto the mirror, but the writing was under the splashes and none of it was smeared or touched. Still, to this day, I cannot explain how it happened. We actually took off the entire mirror off the wall, so it wasn't ruined. And for all of you who are wondering, the writing that's on the right was my brother's attempt of communicating back, and obviously it didn't work. Hey guys, it's Mort here and thank you so much for listening. I actually have a question for you guys. Which do you prefer? Thumbnails with or without text? Can you please comment to let me know what you think, as it will determine how I begin formatting from now on. Also, huge thank you to Joey's Nightmares for helping me out in this video. He is an awesome talent, and if you could click on the link to see the video we made over on his channel, that would be greatly appreciated. You won't regret it. If you have an experience that you want to share, be sure to send it over to my email, which can be found in the description below. The next story that comes my way will be in the subscriber special, and I really can't wait to make that video a reality. So please send it in if you've got one. Speaking of which, why not subscribe to join the coven? Or click some of the links on screen now to check out some of my previous videos. Go on. Lastly guys, I can't believe we've nearly hit 500 subscribers. At the time of recording this, we're at 495, which is very humbling, so thanks to each and every one of you for your support. It really does mean a great deal to me. But anyway, thanks for watching guys, you're all awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one.